Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly for pricing questions, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing a lovely Rolex Oyster Perpetual Day-Date 36, yellow gold, diamond set dial, rainbow sapphires. This is the latest reference, 128238. So the timepiece is 36 millimeters in diameter, the traditional Day-Date size since the original launch in the mid-50s. It's 12.1 millimeters thick, as you can see from lug tip to lug tip, 43.3 millimeters, and then 45 millimeters is the total distance across the wrist from end link to end link. That is the total span horizontally. There's a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Pop open the bracelet and throw it on the wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and this spectacular watch has presence, though it's not large, and you can see that because my hand and my arm are a lot bigger than they appear in the frame. It's a moderately sized watch that's suitable for men and women. It'll probably fit on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference, but my goodness does it stand out. Yellow gold is the oldest and boldest gold, and it's unmistakable. It's a real presence, just like the dial of the watch, and after all, this is a Day-Date nicknamed the President after its illustrious and occasionally infamous history of ownership. But while the watch is nicknamed the President, the bracelet, which was launched with the model in the mid-50s, truly is named the President. As you can see, we have a 3-link design. It has the structural integrity of the 3-link Oyster Sports bracelet, but with the souplesse of the short link profile 5-link Jubilee dress bracelet. And it is graceful. As you can see, polished outer faces, polished centers, satin shoulders. There's some taper down from the end link, which conforms to the case. And then we have a lift lock in the crown clasp. So the crown clasp is so named because the only visible partition point between the two halves of the bracelet is the 5-point Rolex coronet. Now internally you can see there's a beak and a hook system, so unlike previous generations which were friction fit, this one does actually have to be unlatched as you open it. It's not something you simply pry open. There is a switch and a locking mechanism to give you greater security on the wrist. All removable links are fixed by screws, which makes for easy sizing at home. The case is fluid and fashionable. It's changed very little since the original model in the 50s. It's shared with the Sky Dweller and the much smaller Datejust. It's not the super case that you see on the dive watches, Explorer 2s, and GMTs. It's all of high polish, it's fluid with compound curves, and has a lovely narrow taper to the lug ends. The crown, which you can see features 2 dots, is screw down, 100 meters, water resistant. This is the twin lock crown. You know when you see 2 dots, that means a twin lock crown in gold. We have a lovely fluted bezel. Fluted bezels in Rolex design language always mean gold, and this one completely unpolished, never refinished, twinkles like a cut gem. Speaking of which, we have a dial base of gold on which brilliant cut diamonds are then applied in seamless rows. We also have applied rainbow spectrum sapphires in baguette cut. So these are completely handmade. These dials, along with gem set cases and bezels, are the last truly handmade components at Rolex. Almost all manufacturing is automated and all finishing is manufactured by machines. So what is left for the human hand at Rolex? Well, 2 things. Putting the movement in the case, which is mundane, and gem setting, which is artisanal, and still done in an atelier outside of Geneva with natural light and traditional hand tools. So when you see gems on a Rolex watch, you're looking at a handmade Rolex watch. So we have a sapphire crystal, we have yellow gold hands, as well as nameplates, and the watch includes caliber 3255. It's a double quick set for both the day and the date. It has hacking seconds. It lives behind this Oyster case back. It's a new generation of Rolex in-house movement that uses a rotor bearing for the winding system rather than the old jeweled staff, and that improves shock tolerance. It's a bidirectional winder, 70-hour power reserve, double quickset, hacking second, 31 joules, 8 beats per second. COSC certified as a chronometer, but Rolex goes beyond, casing up the certified movement and then testing it in 6 positions to run no worse than plus or minus 2 seconds per day. That's the superlative chronometer standard that Rolex applies. The superlative chronometer terminology actually has a meaning these days. Now, the balance is free sprung and mounted on a full bridge, which makes it easier to adjust precisely and also tougher and more shock tolerant. There is an overcoil hairspring that allows the watch to keep better time in every physical position with respect to gravity, and then that hairspring is made of a blue oxidized niobium zirconium material that is highly anti-magnetic. Rolex calls that Parachrom Blue. It even uses Rolex's own lubricants and Rolex's own shock protection, Paraflex. So this watch is entirely an in-house effort, as Rolex also makes its own cases, clasps, bracelets, and dials. Everything is produced within the house of the five-pointed coronet. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.